Hi, this is your host Fatma Ibrahim, and welcome to another episode on FinEcho, a Bahrain-based podcast that sheds light on financial trends and concepts in the Kingdom and the MENA region. So I'm happy to be here today for our 14th episode with Yanal Jalad, Managing Director of Reboot Coding Institute, the first of its kind coding institute in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So today we're going to shed light on how coding is revolutionizing the financial industry and sets a new benchmark for coding education in the Kingdom and the MENA region. So before we kind of start into the session, Yanal, I want to thank you for joining our session today. And I want to give a little bit of a context. So coding is having a major impact on the financial industry. One, it's democratizing access to finances. It's coming up with new products. It's disrupting the industry as a whole. And it also helps the industry become more cost-effective and efficient in general for the industry. So as coding continues to evolve, we're going to expect to see more of this innovation and disruption. Before we start into this topic, I want you to give kind of a short brief on Reboot and your vision, your mission, and why you're in Bahrain right now.
Right, so thanks for having me. We at Reboot Coding Institute, our mission is to graduate around 300, 350 full stack developers every year, year on year. We're in partnership with Tamkeen and the Bahrain EDB. And that way we can grow this ecosystem of high-level developers, which will help not only companies here in Bahrain, but attract other companies to set up their hub, developer hub here, just like Citibank have and others are coming to do so as well. The importance of tech to jobs in Bahrain is undeniable, and we believe by individuals coming out of our program, they will have good jobs for Bahrainis youth and well-paid jobs. So it's not just about jobs, it's also about well-paid, it's a well-paid industry.
Awesome. I guess, can you tell me a little bit about why Reboot is different than other coding institutes?
Right, we're actually very different in education. We're sort of a disruptor. We don't have lectures, we don't have classrooms. We don't have a teacher who's going to say, this is what you have to write down in your notebook or your
Which
iPad.
is very interesting to hear. It's
right.
a different approach.
It's a very different approach because it's a learn by doing approach. It's a hands-on, project-based, learn by doing. And this has been proven to be the most effective way of learning. And we've actually seen that today already with our student body.
And how many students do you have so far?
We have about 350 students today.
Wow.
We opened about a year ago, and our first cohort started a year and a bit ago. Our first cohort started in summer 2023.
That's a great number.
Right.
Definitely. I mean, I've heard about Reboot. I've been to the campus personally. I've seen what you were talking about. So once the campus does give that feel of collaborative learning and a different approach. And I like that. I like that at the heart of your approach, there's a unique way of teaching. It's not just about theory, it's more about practicality, and it's also about collaborative learning projects as well.
Yeah, so like everyone, you have to work in teams, you work in groups in order to figure things out together. Okay. And what we do over the course of our program, which is a 2-year program, is we mimic how it's going to be in the workplace. You know, here's your project, here's your problem, figure it out, research, and work together and problem solve. And this is very much how it is later in life if they're going to work for a bank, a telco, a tech company, or a startup.
Which is very important, and I can say that the global tech industry is booming, and Bahrain is no exception. The ICT sector is one of the strongest as well. So is the FinTech sector, and that's where we're going to be a bit more specific. And I think we're seeing a high demand for skilled coders, and Reboot is addressing this demand. And for Bahrain, we have a very skilled talent pool. And I think that gives them an opportunity to be part of coding institutions like yourselves to kind of build a lucrative career in tech. And I just wanted to also mention a good number. The global financial technology market specifically is right now at $232 billion. And by 2030 is going to surpass $900 billion. So that's a huge market to tap into. And we've seen this because primarily after COVID, acceleration of adoption of mobile applications, finance applications, and also e-commerce. So definitely an increased demand, and I'm glad that Reboot is now tackling that. So for the second question, why is being a developer essential, especially in the financial landscape? I'm sure that it's very important in terms of use in the other industries. But since this is a financial podcast, why within the fintech industry?
So in tech and fintech, you have to produce these products. You have to innovate. This was what's driving at the moment the financial sector. In coding skills, you've got various aspects that affect this sector, specifically automation and efficiencies, for example. Financial institutions handle vast amount of data, and coding enables automation and reducing time of an individual having to spend inordinate amount of time processing certain data, and coding scripts and so on can alleviate and make it much more efficient.
Enhancing their operational efficiency.
Exactly, 100%. Of course, fintech innovation as well. Fintech innovation is really spurred on by developers and teams and tech teams innovating in this sector, whether it's a peer-to-peer lending or whether it's mobile applications for banks. This has been an essential part of this industry, has been developers, and it will continue to see that even alongside the use of machine learning and AI tools. Another data analysis, analyzing data, big data analysis.
I like that you're mentioning the crucial, especially trending sectors and technologies as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical part of growth, and some of the tools like AI and so on, everyone says, some people say it might replace some jobs. It's just going to change how things are. And these are really important tools that will be used by developers and tech teams in order to become more efficient and also co-create, which will then lead to innovation. That's really important to see how that connection will work.
Thank you so much. And according to Gartner in 2023, this is last year's statistics, 76% of financial services companies are increasing their investment in coding due to the reasons that you've mentioned, which is developing new products, improving risk management, complying with regulations. And I just want to focus a little bit on regulations as well, just to kind of add to your point. It's an ever-evolving market, and new regulations are rolled out every year or so. So coders actually help financial services and institutions stay on track and build new products that comply with these regulations. And two, it also complies with consumer demands.
Right.
Consumers want things in a very different way. They're banking differently, they're shopping differently, they're accepting things differently. But thank you so much for that. And then for my curiosity, which programming language, in your opinion, is being used more, I think, for financial sector?
It doesn't really matter.
No,
it doesn't matter. I mean, in the West at the moment, there's certain trends that will also come here, but at the same time, it's not important to learn one language. It's important to understand the core of certain languages, and then you can teach yourself later, because there's always going to be something new that will come out. And that's really important, to be able to have a really core understanding of certain languages, and then if you need to apply one for a job or for an opportunity or a project or so on, then you teach yourself. And what I love, for example, the tech team Reboot, sometimes I ask, when do you think this will be done? And they'll say, tomorrow, after I figure out how to do it tonight. You can never know everything in tech. So at Reboot, at the same time, our students are learning to learn. They go through a process of being autonomous, of becoming an autonomous developer that is creative and problem solving. And that autonomous part is basically, they've never been told how to do something, so they've got to go figure it out on their own. And that comes with being a good researcher and really knowing how to prompt Google or an AI tool in a correct way.
And I think that's the best approach to learning. A lot of people, I think, not even our education systems, even in the West, it was focused more on theory.
Right.
And then when you're actually in the environment itself, you don't know how to tackle challenges that arise out of nowhere. So you're not flexible, you're not agile. But COVID, not just COVID, but I think in the recent times, the challenges have taught us to approach learning from that perspective, that you have a problem today that you may be able to solve tomorrow.
Right.
And I think also, coding has become increasingly essential, also not just to automate tasks and come up with new products, also because consumers the way that they ask for how to, for their user experience is completely changed. And I think that's where coders can come in and completely revamp that experience. It's creating new experiences, and coders need to be put in new experiences themselves.
Yeah, developers are key to it. Whether it's a UI UX person, a data scientist, a front end or a back end developer.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your 2-year program allows them to do 18 months of the core, being the full stack developer, and then they get to choose their specializations. What are some of these specializations?
Okay, so firstly, what's a full stack developer? So basically, it's someone who's able to program the full spectrum of programming. So that means front end, back end, data. So that's the full spectrum of programming. It takes at Reboot about 18 months for that to happen.
Okay.
And then they specialize. They can choose the areas of specialization in. For example, there's various branches, so blockchain, cryptocurrency, mobile web development, AI and data science, cybersecurity, cloud DevOps, UI UX. So these are different areas of specialization which they will focus 6 months, the last 6 months of the program, only in those areas.
Can you share at this point what students are mostly interested in? I think from conversations that you've had throughout the program, from these specializations?
Right. So students definitely are, the buzzword at the moment is AI and machine learning and so on, and cybersecurity. I actually think that it's going to be driven by the jobs available. And we have partners at Reboot. These are hiring partners. Some are banks, some are tech companies, that they would want people to do a specialization in a certain area. And they'll probably say things like, well, we really like you to do this branch, and that's where we need you to join our organization. Okay. I think those individual learners who are interested in those organizations will then drive towards one of those specializations that these companies are looking for. At the same time, it's not like they can't have access to the projects. Actually, let's say you're doing the AI machine learning specialization, they can still see the projects on some of the other specializations. They just won't have time to do it all. So they can actually grab bits
okay,
here
they
and
can
there.
tap into the other specializations as well.
Yeah, they can tap into it and take some projects here and there. And at Reboot, everything goes on their portfolio. So what we're doing, what I mean is they're building a portfolio of hands-on projects, and everything goes on their GitHub, and that is their portfolio. Just like with an artist or someone will have a portfolio of work, GitHub is an online portfolio which any company can or prospective employer can view, like a resume, but much more details, actually showing what they did,
the specific
themselves.
projects and the specific specialization.
And what tech stacks they've used and what experience they've
Can you repeat that name? Sorry.
GitHub.
GitHub. Awesome. Okay, this is the first time I've learned about this, but that's awesome. I didn't know that coders had their own sort of portfolios like artists do.
Right. So we're at Reboot, we're preparing how the West want prospective developers, which is, and I've said this several times, which is, in an interview, this is, show me your GitHub, and this is your coding test. That's what they do. And it's not like if you went to Harvard or Princeton. No, they actually don't care, in tech at least, very little.
And how do they get tested? Like, just from my own knowledge, if I was a financial institution and I want to build a new app, how do I test a specific coder?
So there's various tools that can be used like coding tests. We have done 3 or 4 iterations of Code Wars at Reboot competitions.
Code Wars?
Code Wars, yeah. And it's actually, some of them being sponsored by our partners like Spring Studios and others, YK and Wade as well. And they will have, let's say, 60, 70, 80 of our students enter the Code Wars, which we'll set up. And they'll have, like, think of it like speed dating, speed coding, series of challenges they have to quickly go through and practice and practice and practice by using Code Wars. Because why do we do Code Wars? Is because it's a similar platform to how their coding tests will be in the future.
Interesting.
So we'll have like 60 people, for example, that do the competition. We'll get like a final 10, final 8 then the final
So
four.
similar to hackathon, but
Well,
instead,
it's more of like I say similar to like a speed coding problem solving thing.
okay, speed coding.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and they would, in the end we'll have a head to head and we'll have a winner.
Awesome.
And we've done that now, I think 3-4 times. And of course, the students, it's like fun, it's activity, but we do it for a specific reason, because it gets them used to that kind of coding pressure
as well. Yes.
that they're going to get during an interview at some point.
Thank you. And I think you also lead me to my next point about your corporate partners and this question. So how can coding skills or these developer skills can be leveraged to achieve career and not fintech, but career and startup success within the financial sector? I know that you just signed an MOU with Benefit, for example, where you had Reboot students actually work within their IT departments, and you've had other partnerships as well. Can you tell me about kind of that focus area?
So first, with regards to Benefit and others, which we've signed actual corporate agreements with, more than just an MOU, and some of our students have actually started a Benefit now, which is great to see, and some of them have not come from a computer science or programming degree, which is great to see that mindset shifting in terms of that actually people with different backgrounds and ages bring different skills, and Benefit recognized that and brought an individual who doesn't have that, So we're starting to see that more and more in Bahrain, where in the past it wouldn't be in that way.
But are corporate partners open to that?
Yeah, so it's shall I say it's starting to change.
Okay.
It's starting to change, yes. Some more so. Some are immediately open to it from day one, and some are hesitant, and then we've started to see a change in that, which makes being a developer and entering this industry even more open to everyone. Regards to your question, I mean, if you break it down as what does a developer or coder can do specifically, I mentioned data analysis already. This is obviously really important. Financial modeling, algorithmic trading, like trading on platforms and predicting and predictive analysis and all that. Again, big data analysis. Automation, I mentioned, improves efficiencies. This is very, very important for the FinTech financial sector. Software, developing software, financial software and tools, where there could be a CRM that's fit for purpose. FinTech products, the innovation come out of FinTech products have completely transformed the financial sector. Things like peer-to-peer lending, things like mobile banking apps, and so on.
And I guess the success of a fintech company, from what we've seen in Bahrain, relies purely on code in that sense as well. Whether it's UX, UI for the website, front or back end, they would have to do it in both ways. And I think Bahrain, for example, when it comes to open banking, robo-advisory, automation, algorithmic trading, these are things that we're using right now, and I think we're also advancing in that slowly, and we need coders to fill that gap.
Yeah, and you can also use some low-code applications too, but even those require people who know how to code.
How to code
and
eventually.
Behind those low-code applications in order to build them, are developers, right? So it's all interconnected. So you can use multiple tools, but being a developer and a coder is essential to part of it. And there's other aspects, blockchain, cryptocurrency. Developers are very much part of that. Machine learning, of course, being predictive analysis and so on.
And for the audience, how do you describe front end and back end? Like, I read an example to make it easier as well. It's kind of like would you agree if we had a restaurant, for example, the front end developers would be the ones serving the food, getting the orders right, and then the back end would be fixing the whole system in the sense.
So that's actually pretty accurate. I mean, you've got basically front end's what you're going to see on your phone and your app, and back end what's going on in the background in order to make your app work the way it does.
Just so people on for watching this podcast can kind of understand it in layman terms.
And so we produce a full stack developer, right? So this is someone who could do both, but that's not their label forever. That's just the really strong core that could take them in any direction that they choose, where their passions are, where their interests are, whether it's they want to go only into backend later, or only into front end, or have a startup, or go into tech or telco. Just really, really strong foundation and core of.
Do they all start with being front end developers first?
So
I don't know if that's a stupid question.
No. So at Reboot, they first learn backend.
Backend.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Mostly backends.
Awesome. And you have other corporate partners,
Right.
that actually help within the specializations, code-based technologies, Binance Academy, for example, and Tech. How do these partners help the developers or the students within Reboot kind of realize what they're really good at, how they want to tap into different projects and team collaborative things? So how does that work?
So firstly, as a partner with Reboot, you've got access to this early access to the students, which is really important and maybe not fully understood, because you can start to shape the students in what you need and what you're looking for.
Got it.
Being a partner, you can give Reboot bespoke projects, or you can actually add content in our curriculum. Like our curriculum is not fixed. We can add, and we already have added content specific to certain partners.
I like that.
Of
Okay.
tech stacks or projects that they want to have students exposed to. One example is Al Salam Bank.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us a bespoke project.
And is that a challenge when you say bespoke projects? Is it a challenge that they're facing?
It was something that they needed.
Okay.
Of course, at Reboot, we've had 300 developers plus, right? So,
wow.
It's something that they needed and wanted to use. So we actually completed phase 1 of that. We hope to be starting phase 2. Things slowed down a little bit with Ramadan, and the bank acquired a new bank. So, but hopefully phase 2 will start soon. And it's something actually they want and need, and it's great to have our students exposed to that. So the students, I mean, they're working on a project, but they're also communicating and collaborating with some of the team in Al Salam Bank.
Which I think is a perfect balance, because you're not only giving them an opportunity to be there, leading the front as well and addressing the challenges of the bank itself, but you're actually teaching them how to communicate with prospective clients, and these are the types of projects. So you're giving them kind of a work experience at the same time within their 2-year program.
Exactly, and in some cases they get paid for it. So, for example,
I didn't know
right
that.
now we have students, they are collaborating with a European entity who are they're embedded in an IT company's we're working with an IT company in Europe, and they're embedded in one of their clients.
That's amazing that it's going global now as well.
Tech teams, and they're paying the students for that. So they're actually an opportunity potentially, not for everyone. Like obviously you have to build this out. So we're starting, and we started, and we have to make sure that the student's ready, right? Because there's no shortcut in this. There's no shortcut to learn for a month and then I'll be good. No, it takes a bit of time to become good, and that's why we're a 2-year program.
Amazing. And I wanted to go back just to tell the audience. So it's a 2-year program, 18 months of doing the whole full stack developer program, the core program, and then 6 months specialization.
Exactly.
But before that, how does someone apply to your program? How do you test them initially? If someone like me, for example, who's probably horrible in coding, scared of it, won't touch it, how would I go to Reboot and actually test myself to see if I'm actually applicable to this program?
So we're very inclusive. The opportunity is for all. Anyone can enter tech, and it's never too late to enter tech. The first step to join Reboot is to take our online game.
Okay.
And you take that from our website, and it's a logic game. And it's something probably millions of people around the world, between all the coding schools that we're part of. There's probably over 60 or 70 between the different groups. And it's a logic game that identifies potentially the right kind of mind for this. And there's no coding in that game.
I like that you start with gamification.
So gamification is throughout the Reboot curriculum. And there's XP points, there's awards. You unlock awards for certain achievements. Your audit ratio has to be correct in order for certain things to unlock. You see where you stand compared to your peers. XP points is throughout our whole platform.
Awesome.
But then specifically to enter Reboot, first you do the online game. It's just a logic game, and then if you pass, you're invited to the selection pool. The selection pool is a 3-week long selection process, where think of it as a snapshot of what the main program is like.
Okay.
So it gives the opportunity for individuals to say, okay, this is for me, I like this.
Test the skills, the environment.
I enjoyed it. But it's, some people without any coding background have entered our selection pool and passed. And of course, some people come in from industry, and we have a lot of university students doing Reboot at the same time while they're doing their bachelor degree. And those university students have said, like the ones at the Polytechnic or UOB have said, our selection pool is equivalent to a year and a half of programming knowledge that they get at university, that they learn in 3 weeks. So it's an intense 3 weeks. It's a learn by doing, which sometimes at the first day is like, what do we do here? Because there's no one to stand in front of me to tell me what to write notes on. But they get to learn it pretty quickly. By the second and third day, they've really got a true understanding of.
Because it's not just teaching them what to do; it's also adapting their mindset to this type of environment. I think that's the hardest thing.
Exactly, it's a mindset. But what happens is that they struggle at the beginning, and then they start to realize, like, oh, I'm enjoying this, and oh, I can't believe I've actually done this. That's my code I'm looking at.
Which is the right approach, because you give them that gratification from the beginning that this is something that I've built, and hey, I don't have skills, and I've built something in just a short amount of time.
So in Selection Pool, it's fun, it's energetic. It goes from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. or midnight.
Oh wow!
Where you can stay on campus and work on your project. So in the Selection Pool, you have people at university, you have people who are working and they come after work.
Is it 24 hours?
No, it's like
campus is the
campus itself. I think 1 or 2 in the morning. I think.
We've confirmed that they're night owls for some. Okay.
They're night owls. Yeah.
Okay.
So we regularly have people staying till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Okay.
But if you come to campus at 7 or 8 p.m., it's busy. There's people coming from work, people come from university, and they're collaborating, working on the project, or they're doing an audit and stuff like that.
Well, fun fact, I've seen the test pop up, and I've been dying to do it myself, but I'm so embarrassed because I know them personally and I don't want to do it.
We'll have your information.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much. I think it's good for people to kind of understand the process, because I think for the typical Bahraini to hear about coding and tech, it's something they feel like that's an untouched territory. If you've never done any coding, you wouldn't even think of starting a tech career. That's the misconception.
So I just to touch on that, I mean, we've had people who've come into the selection pool who don't have a bachelor degree and pass.
That's fantastic.
We've got people who, so maybe they've demonstrated they have the ability, but maybe for whatever reason, they didn't have the opportunity in the past.
Okay.
So this gives them the opportunity now to enter tech. We have accountants, we have lawyers, we have people in finance, we have, I think there's a dentist.
Wow.
All are career switching or want to add tech to their current career path.
That's amazing, because you've mentioned names that I wouldn't have think would shift their careers to tech at all.
So tech is touching on everything, and it's really important that they understand how to utilize this, not just the tools, but actually be a programmer or coder. And in the selection pool, they will spend 3 weeks. They'll learn a lot. And while the selection pool is more intense version of the actual program, because there's time limits in order to finish certain quests, it's a snapshot of what it will be like, and they can then decide whether it's for them or not.
Got it. Which I love. Like I said, from the beginning, this approach is very unique. You don't see that in a lot of educational institutions. We're trying to move towards that, not just for coding, for in general, for universities, to kind of have people do that practical approach, learn by doing, work with a team. Because you'll get some, like I've been through this personally. I come from a theory-focused education, so everything was like heavy textbooks coming in, having a structure, having directions. So when I went into your campus and I kind of understood of how the process is, it was even interesting for me to see, oh wow, people can actually learn and using this adaptable approach.
It's a number of different ingredients. It's the collaboration side of it, the collective intelligence, learned by doing peer-to-peer methodology, and you put that all together in the correct environment. We have sort of trying to build a community, and you've got these like-minded individuals Our younger students is 18, our oldest students 57.
Wow.
We have people in their 30s and 40s as well. We have husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, all in our program. And they, as part of that collective, are learning together, and they learn quicker and better and deeper. And their progress definitely stands out by the end or during the process, because they're used to communicating. The soft skills is a very important part of our selection. I've had to, I explained the genius in the corner that can't communicate. Employers don't want to hire. So you have to demonstrate these sort of skill sets to us in order to get
I'm
into
glad
the
that you
program.
brought it up, because not a lot of people would assume that a coding institute would focus on soft skills as well, because it comes hand in hand.
It's extremely important for us. It's very, very important. And so, and I say this to everyone who asks, we're looking at a willingness to learn, willingness to ask for help, willingness to receive help, willingness to help others. These aspects are very important. And because of the way you go through the reboot program over the 2 years, their communication skills are definitely a standout to what's been there before.
Well, that's amazing. That's good to hear. I like hearing that we're taking this approach finally in Bahrain and for the region as well. Speaking a little bit more focused on one of your specializations, cybersecurity. It's a big thing. We've seen a lot of cybersecurity examples. Risk has been completely high, especially now that everything has been moved to online. And in Bahrain, we view cybersecurity as one of their national pillars, and we've also developed a national cybersecurity strategy. So can you shed light on how coding talent can bolster cybersecurity in today's world?
So cybersecurity is a massive issue, not just in Bahrain, but globally. At Reboot, we focus on basically the students will be able to create tools, cybersecurity tools, themselves.
Okay.
That they can use in companies and so on. So they have a really deep understanding of cybersecurity and its applications and how to use it. They can also change existing tools. So it's not just about getting off-the-shelf tool and then implementing it. You can actually, they have the knowledge to change a tool to be more fit for purpose for their organization and so on. But cybersecurity is a big threat. Cities are becoming, more and more digital.
Yes.
And
we've had a few cases in Bahrain, so
there's been a few cases in Bahrain, and it's definitely it's a worry, and there's a lot more work to be done, to be honest, in that area. For example, in Europe, ethical hackers demonstrated that they can access a city's power grid through the charging portals of EV cars.
Oh wow! Okay.
So just through the portal, they can access. So there's a
you
lot
just gave an idea.
Well, no, it's public information, but like these kind of situations are a serious threat. So
you've also invited someone, right? That was pretty big on ethical hacking.
Yeah, we had a globally renowned ethical hacker who spent a lot of time on campus with our students, inspiring our students about the right way of learning about cybersecurity and the industry and the jobs available coming. The individual, his name's David Colombo. He's the first person who, or the only person who ethically hacked Teslas from his laptop in Germany,
wow.
Where he can access someone's laptop, Tesla in Australia or
That's quite
America,
scary.
and control it.
To know that one person is capable of doing that.
So it's definitely an issue that needs to be, a lot of work needs to be done on, and there's a lot of job opportunities in cybersecurity in the future.
And you guys do awareness workshops as well for the students with your partners, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we do awareness workshops, and we, as much as possible, we try to do hands-on workshops. So for example, we 3D printed a critical infrastructure pump that was moving up and down, and connected to a motor and a control board, and we simulated a ransomware attack, and our students had to re-hack it to regain control and bring it under control. these sort of hands-on skills.
Examples kind of showcase.
They also inspire people to be like, this is interesting. I want to go in this field, or this direction,
and delve into it a bit deeper.
Deeper in the future, and at the same time they have a lot of fun together. But yeah, so developing secure software, implementing penetration testing and ethical hacking, using AI and machine learning for cybersecurity. All these areas are very much are not only needed, but developers and coders are essential to it.
What is the specialization? This is just your opinion. You think. What is the specialization that you think people are scared of going into, or it's something that they wouldn't really think about? I know game development is very exciting for a lot of people. UX, UI, that's more common. Would you say cybersecurity is one of those specializations?
So we have cybersecurity specialization, and I think it's probably going to be one of the more popular areas. I'm not sure if they're scared in any side. There's something a student said to me recently. He's, I think, on project 5 or 6, and he said, that first project, like I thought, like I was good. I thought to myself, what have I done to myself? This is impossible. Why did I do this? And and then like 4 or 5 projects in, he's like, I look back. I'm like, why did I think like that? Why did I? Now I feel I can do everything. Just give me a problem.
Wow.
I can.
That's so heartwarming, especially for you guys to hear that.
Right, exactly. It's like I can do anything. So I feel like as the students progress, they start to feel that change.
Their capabilities a bit more.
Capabilities and confidence.
That's a good tagline: capabilities and confidence.
Right.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad that we had this conversation. I think people understand a little bit about Reboot, and I think. 2 more questions. So if someone is interested to become a full stack developer, but we've touched upon this, has no educational background, and we've also touched upon the test and everything, how do they feel like they're actually a good fit themselves?
Right. I would, say come into the selection pool, try it out.
Okay.
If you come into the selection pool, we usually have over 200 people come into the selection pool, and see if you like it and see if it's a good fit for you. There's also online, YouTube or online free courses you can take if one wants to. But sitting alone on a computer,
you don't get that full experience.
Yeah, it's completely different than actually being around people and asking and speaking and actually doing. And I think I would advise anyone who's interested to enter this area. This is probably one of the best ways to do it.
Awesome. Well, I hope people do take that advice. And we're going to end the session with 1 sentence, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. What advice would you give to anyone that's interested, especially in a career in
It's
coding?
never too late to enter tech. Just make the move. Our program is so flexible that you can still work in your existing job, let's say as a technician somewhere, or your existing job as someone in finance or accounting, and still do Reboot at the same time. You can, it's never too late. Like I said, our oldest student is in his 50s. We have about 30% women in our.
I was surprised. Yeah, I went into campus and I was surprised.
I really encourage
how diverse the group was.
I really encourage more and more women.
What's the percentage of women in Reboot?
30%.
30%.
So we aim to be 50%.
Okay.
But we're today at 30%, and we hope to be 50%. So we've had a good start. It's above average, but the power it gives, be a developer, in terms of earning potential, in terms of flexibility, all throughout your life is just massive. So I really encourage more and more ladies to enter this field.
Thank you so much, Enal. And I believe you have an upcoming selection pool.
Yes,
well.
We do. Yeah, we have June 23. That is the next one.
Okay, you've heard June 23 is
June
the next
23.
one.
So you have to do the online game, pass it. You can retake it if you need to, if you don't pass it, and then come into selection pool and see if it's for you. And you'll see, anyone coming in will see very diverse, group. Like I mentioned, the ages. We have about 45% are university students at Reboot, and then others are working in industry related to IT or not related to IT. So even if you're working in IT, doesn't mean you're a full stack developer. It doesn't mean you get the exposure of what we do in terms of the training. And so.
Thank
anyone
you so much.
interested, go join.
I enjoyed this session. I feel like we've gotten a good idea of how coding is very important, especially in the financial sector. And not even that, but beyond that, we kind of delved into Reboot, your mission, how you feel. And I can see that. I can see that from how passionate you are. And you made it seem as in coding and technology is really for everyone. It's a space that is safe for everyone to kind of at least test themselves out. And maybe it was a push for me to do the online test maybe after the session. But I wanted to thank you for being here, and I hope more after people listen to this podcast and kind of see this conversation, they have the courage to kind of test out and maybe start a new career in technology.
Absolutely, exactly. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank Yanol officially for being part of the FinEcho podcast. If you'd like to access Reboot's channels and find out more, you can visit their website on reboot01.com. And you can also stay tuned for all their updates on their Instagram, which is reboot.01. Yeah, reboot01.coding. And thank you for tuning in. You can listen to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can also watch the entire conversation on YouTube. And if you want to be part of the podcast, you can also email us at finecho@bh@gmail.com. Thank you so much.